Hello everyone. Hi. So me and Ananya are back again. Uh,
Hi
so,
everyone.
so we have a new set of questions for you all. And we are really glad that you guys liked the session so much yesterday. We saw all of your comments, and we're really glad that you guys liked the session. And we're also really happy that it helped you. And so today, here we are back with a new session. So, Ananya, would you like to tell them what we are doing today?
Yes, we are doing HP set practice today with the set, and this is the day 5. So
Yes.
let's just start with it.
Yeah. So, let me share my screen and let's get started. Okay. I believe my screen is perfectly visible to you all. So here we are with our HP set crash course, and it's day 5. So many of you have been following this session of crash course, and there are 4 videos prior to this. If you haven't followed those 4 sessions previously, please do go back to those videos after this session. I really believe those videos will really help you with quick revisions, and will also acquaint you with the points you really need to brush up before your exam. So without further ado, let's move on to our first question. Yes.
The first play in English written by an Indian was Dash. Is it Krishna Mohan Banerjee, Michael Madhusudan Dutt, Jogendra Chandra Gupta, or Vinayak G. Kirtane? The first play in English, but written by an Indian. So you have to tell who's the author.
Okay. So the first play in English, which was written by an Indian, it was The Persecuted by Krishna Mohan Banerjee. And Krishna Mohan Banerjee based The Persecuted or dramatic scenes illustrative of the present state of Hindu society in Calcutta. It was the first Indian drama in English, and this drama was based on Krishna Mohan Banerjee's own experience of ostracism after his young Bengal friends flouted the conservative codes at his home. So, the first English drama written by an Indian was The Persecuted by Krishna Mohan Banerjee, and it was based on Krishna Mohan Banerjee's own experiences of ostracism. He faced because of his young Bengal friends, flouted the conventional codes of behavior, the Hindu codes of life were flouted, and hence this ostracism. Ostracism means when your society makes you feel like you are all alone. You're not allowed to talk with anyone in the society. You're not allowed to mingle with anyone. You cannot touch anyone. You cannot go to any public space. You cannot draw water from the public spaces. So that's ostracism. যেটা we call in Bengali, it's এক ঘরে করে দেওয়া. So you are made to feel alone in the society. So that's ostracism. All right. So it's a very important work, The Persecuted by Krishna Mohan Banerjee, first ever play written in English by an Indian. All right. Next.
Who translated into English The Slave Girl of Agra? Is it Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, Rabindranath Tagore, Nirad Singh Chaudhary, or Romesh Chandra Dutt? Who translated into English the work The Slave Girl of Agra? It's either of the following writers.
So The Slave Girl of Agra. It's a very popular romance. It's a novel by Romesh Chandra Dutt, and it was translated into English by Romesh Chandra Dutt only. All right. So I can tell you a bit more about this work. So this novel is based on a story entitled Madhavi Kankan and depicting Indian life under the old Mughal rule, which the author wrote in his own language over 30 years ago. The story has been considerably altered and enlarged in this English version. So initially, Ramesh Chandra Dutt wrote it in his native language, but later it was translated by him into English. All right, next.
L.C. Knights and F.R. Lewis together edited a journal called Dash. Is it Scrutiny, Tatler, Relation, or Guardian? Elsie Knights and F.R. Lewis, they have together edited this journal. It's either of the following journals.
So I think we all know the name of the journal, which was very closely associated with Elsie Knights and F.R. Lewis. So that is, and it is Scrutiny. Scrutiny, a quarterly review, was a literature periodical founded in 1932 by Elsie Knights and F.R. Lewis, who remained its principal editors until the final issue in 1953. Again, the questions on periodicals, magazines are very important, and not only of the West, but also Indian magazines. There are so many Indian magazines you can't even imagine. Like, we have already done a session on Indian magazines. If you want, you can go through that session. And leaving that session aside, there are so many more magazines to look up and read about. So please do look up the periodicals, magazines, pamphlets, not only of the West, but also of India. Okay, next.
Roland Barthes' Mythologies is considered a seminal precursor text of modern cultural studies because dash it analyzed the myths and the realities behind the concept of culture. It analyzed 10 writers. It analyzed Parisian highbrow culture. It analyzed diverse social practices as women's fashions and professional wrestling. So, Roland Barthes' Mythologies, this is considered a seminal precursor text of modern cultural studies. You have to state the reason.
Okay, so mythologies is again a text we all have at least heard about from the oeuvre of Roland Barthes, and it is it is a very significant text because it analyzed the myths and the realities behind the concept of culture. Like, we know, culture is a construct which is actively constructed by the people of the society. And this work, Mythologies, analyzes those myths and realities which construct the concept of the culture. All right. So, Mythologies is a 1957 book by Roland Barthes. It is a collection of essays first published from 1954 to 56. And these essays, or this book rather, examines the tendency of contemporary social value systems to create modern myths, like how the contemporary society, the contemporary values of the society contributed to the creation of the myths which constructed this concept of the culture. All right. So Roland Barthes, a phenomenal critic and theorist, do look up all his works. I think we all of us are more or less acquainted with his oeuvre. So do look up his works, his essays, the concepts he has propounded, right? And be very careful about the chronology of his works. These chronology questions are coming in tons in every exam these days. So please be very careful about the chronology. All right, next.
Dash is not part of the research proposal. Is it objectives, complete list of primary sources, hypothesis, or complete bibliography of secondary sources? You have to tell what is not part of the research proposal.
So more or less, I'm just assuming we are acquainted with the idea of what a research proposal is. It is a document, you can say, which we write or which we submit when we apply for PhDs. To be, to put it very simply, it's a document which we submit when we are applying for PhDs. It's a document which outlines our ideas about what we want to do in a research we are preparing to do or which we're planning to do. So in a typical research proposal has certain parts. It has objectives. It has a complete list of primary sources. It also has the complete bibliography of second sources, but hypothesis, not necessarily. See, we can look at the breakdown here, like the parts which are there in a typical research proposal. So title page, introduction, literature review, research design and methodology, implications, conclusion, references. So there will be objectives because when you are planning to do research, you have to state very clearly what are you planning to do, what are the objectives of your research. You have to tell the panel that what are the primary texts you will be working with, and also the secondary sources which you are relying on for the framework of your research. So these are the factors which are an absolute must when you're framing a proposal. But when you're putting a research proposal forward, your proposal need not always have a hypothesis. So hypothesis is an aspect which is not a part of the research proposal. Okay, next.
The Dictionary of Anglo-Indian Terms, compiled by Sir Henry Yule and Arthur Coke Burnell, is titled Dash. Is this the concise Dictionary of Anglo-Indian Terms, Dictionary of Indian English, Hobson, Jobson, or none of the following? The Dictionary of Anglo-Indian Terms is compiled by Sir Henry Yule and Arthur Coke Burnell. You have to tell the title of this dictionary.
So again, knowing about dictionaries, encyclopedias, it's very important. Bibles. So do look up the histories of dictionaries, like which was the first English dictionary, who are the famous writers who contributed to dictionaries and encyclopedias and pamphlets. And this question is very significant, and I found this in one of the PSC papers. So please do look up such dictionaries, and here the answer is Hobson Jobson. Hobson Jobson, a glossary of colloquial Anglo-Indian words and phrases and of kindred terms, etymological, historical, geographical, and discursive. It's a full title. So it's a historical dictionary of Anglo-Indian words and terms from Indian languages, which came into use during the British rule in India. It was written by Sir Henry Yule and Arthur Coke Burnell, and it was first published in 1886. So it's a very important work, and it's a dictionary of Anglo-Indian words and terms from the Indian languages which came into use during the British rule in India. Hobson Jobson, very important dictionaries, encyclopedias. They're very important for any exam. Do look them up. Okay, next.
Who has written the autobiography of an unknown Indian? Is this Jawaharlal Nehru, Raja Roy, Neeraj C. Chaudhary, or the autobiography of an unknown Indian?
Okay, I think we all know that the autobiography of an unknown Indian was written by Neeraj C. Chaudhary. So it was published in 1951, written when he was around 50. It records his life from his birth in 1897 in Kishoreganj, a small town in present-day Bangladesh. The book relates his mental and intellectual development, his life and growth in Calcutta, his observations of vanishing landmarks. The connotation of this is dual, changing Indian situation and historical forces, which was making exit of British from India an imminent affair. Phenomenal work, very significant, socially, culturally, and politically as well, and also a testimony of Neeraj C. Chaudhary about his own life, about the changing times he was born in and the turbulent times he has witnessed by himself. So it's a very important work and very important autobiographical work for that matter. Okay, next.
Which speaker in Dryden's essay of dramatic poesy is believed to represent Dryden himself? Is this Eugenius, Crites, Lycidius, or Neander? Which speaker in Dryden's essay of dramatic poesy is believed to represent Dryden himself?
So again, a very known work, Essay of Dramatic Poesy by Dryden. So John Dryden's Essay of Dramatic Poesy was written in 1666 during the Great Plague of London, and it was published in 1668. Dryden's claim in this essay was that poetic drama with English and Spanish influence is a justifiable art form when compared to traditional French poetry. And in this work, we have four characters: Eugenius, Crites, Lycidius, and Neander. And here, the character of Neander represents Dryden himself. Okay. Neander means new man. And it implies that Dryden as a respected member of the gentry class, is entitled to join in this dialogue on an equal footing with the three older men who are his social superiors. Neander means new man. Okay, next.
Which theoretical perspective pays attention to unconscious motives of the author and the characters depicted in the work? Is it structuralism, modernism, postmodernism, or psychoanalytic criticism? So I have to tell which theoretical perspective. It pays attention to unconscious motives of the author and the characters that are depicted in the work.
Okay, so this psychoanalytic theory or criticism, it is the theoretical framework which we generally use to probe into the unconscious of the writer or the characters depicted in the work, or to understand the motives, as the question says, to understand the motives of the author behind certain characters or sentences or certain scenes. So it is psychoanalytic criticism or theory that is used as a framework. Okay, next. Okay, so we just want to remind you guys that from April 8th at Vallat, we have started a course of RPSC Assistant Professor Quiz Series. Many people have already joined and they're doing awesome quizzes and they're preparing wonderfully. So here they are getting topic-wise quizzes every day, model tests, and live revisions twice a week. Okay, and each session will be of 2 hours where they're revising live with us. So if you haven't joined yet, and if you are planning to give this exam on 21st May, you should join this course and prepare with us, and it will boost your preparation immensely. You can see the fee on the screen, and also there is a phone number where you can contact for your further queries and get enrolled accordingly.
For dash, ideology constructs the individuals as subjects of the system. It gives them the identity necessary to the functioning of the existing system while making them feel as if they are free agents. So is this Althusser, Foucault, Derrida, or Adorno, for whom the ideology constructs the individuals as subjects of the system?
It is very famously Louis Althusser, the Marxist critic and philosopher who talked about ideology, who talked about how ideology creates or makes us subjects of the social and political system around us, and how it interpellation, how it manipulates and interpellates us and makes us subjects of the contemporary socio-political and cultural systems. Okay, all right, next.
In which of the following Indian journals was Gandhi's My Experiment with Truth appeared week by week? Is it Young India, The Indian Opinion, Kesari, or Harijan? You have to tell in which of the following Indian journals was Gandhi's My Experiments with Truth appeared week by week?
Okay, so the story of My Experiments with Truth is a phenomenal autobiography which we all have read about at some point of time. And in this autobiography, he talks about his life, his youth, about how his political interests were molded, how he came into politics, and how his life ideals were shaped, right? And it appeared in week by week in the weekly Young India. Young India, okay? So it is the autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi covering his life from early childhood through to 1921. And it was written in weekly installments and published in his journal Navajivan in Hindi, that is from 1925 to 1929. And its English translation also appeared in installments in his other journal, Young India. Okay, next.
Who is the author of the famous story, The Lady or the Tiger? Is it F.R. Stockton, F.R. Lewis, Graham Greene, or Mark Twain? You have to tell the author of the famous story, The Lady or the Tiger.
So The Lady or the Tiger is a much anthologized short story written by F.R. Stockton for publication in the November issue of the Century magazine in 1882. The lady or the tiger has entered the English language as an allegorical expression, a shorthand indication or signifier for a problem that is unsolvable. So it's a very famous short story by F.R. Stockton again. Short stories is in itself a very important genre from where questions have come in every exam, NET, SET, PSC, whatever, or competitive exams like CUET, PG. Knowing like who wrote which short stories, starting from, say, Rudyard Kipling, Thomas Hardy, D.H. Lawrence, Mark Twain, O. Henry, F.R. Stockton. They're very important short story writers. And please try to know their short stories. Even James Joyce has written short stories. So short stories is a very important genre in itself. So don't overlook them. Try to know as many short stories as you can. Okay, next.
In Every Man in His Humor, Ben Jonson, Ben Jonson based his characters on the dash. Is it true humors? So I have to tell, in Every Man in His Humor, Ben Jonson based his characters on what?
Okay. So we know that Ben Jonson was famous for his comedy of humors, right? So obviously he based his play Every Man in His Humors on the four humors of medieval physiology. Okay, so Every Man in His Humor is a 1598 play by Ben Jonson. The play belongs to the subgenre of humors comedy, in which each major character is dominated by an overriding humor or obsession. You know, blood, phlegm, choler, bile, the humors which are supposed to be there in our body, and the unequal distribution of which thereby molds our personality or character. Like if there is too much blood in my body, I will be very energetic, excited. But if I have black bile a bit more than blood, maybe I will be very upset, very melancholic, not much energy, So my characters, my personalities will vary according to the unequal distribution of these humors. So Every Man in His Humor, likewise, talks about these four humors of medieval physiology. Okay, next.
The novel entitled The Foreigner is written by Dash. Is it Mulk Raj Anand, R. N. Tagore, Anita Desai, or Arun Joshi? You have to tell the novel The Foreigner is written by whom?
So again, it's a very important novel of Indian literature, and The Foreigner has been written by Arun Joshi. Okay, so let me tell you a bit more about this work. The Foreigner is a story of a young man who is detached, almost alienated, a man who sees himself as a stranger wherever he lives or goes. In Kenya, where he is born, in England and USA, where he is a student, and in India, where he finally settles down. His detachment transcends barriers of geography, nationality, and culture, and hence the title Foreigner. Foreigner means someone who is foreign to his circumstances or space or culture or identity. So the title Foreigner itself alludes to this sense of foreignness, this alienation he suffers from. Okay, it's a very important work by Arun Joshi. Again, do look up Indian novels, contemporary novelists, or even the novelists of the 1940s, 60s, 70s. Very, very important. Okay, next.
A Writer's Nightmare is a collection of essays by Dash. Is it Mulk Raj Anand, R. K. Narayan, Raja Rao, or Manohar Malgonkar? A Writer's Nightmare. This is a collection of essays. You have to tell it is written by whom.
So we can see here a writer who is almost exhausted and desperate. That's why I chose this picture for A Writer's Nightmare. So A Writer's Nightmare, it's a collection of essays by R.K. Narayan, published in 1988 by Penguin Books. The essays included in the book are about topics as diverse as the caste system, love, Nobel Prize winners, and monkeys. The book provides readers a unique view of Indian life. The essays were written at various points between 1958 and 88. The book includes a significant essay. This book has a significant essay, Misguided Guide, expressing Narayan's displeasure with the film Guide, based on his novel The Guide. So it's a very significant essay collection by R.K. Narayan, a writer's nightmare. So, explore these works more. And while exploring, you will stumble along more works. So, your knowledge, your own vocabulary will just keep on expanding, and then any exam will be very easy for you. Okay, next.
As described in the essay Meditations in Westminster Abbey, in what kind of a mood does Addison walk by himself in Westminster Abbey? Is it sad mood, bad mood, serious mood, or happy mood? As described in the essay Meditations in Westminster Abbey, in what kind of mood does Addison walk by himself in Westminster Abbey?
So, Meditation in Westminster Abbey by Joseph Addison is a thoughtful reflection on mortality, ambition, and the human condition. And so here we see that in this essay, he is in a very serious mood, and he observes tombstones, epitaphs, and fragments of bone, pondering the transient nature of life and the fleeting nature of fame. So he is in the Westminster Abbey. He's in a very serious, somber mood, and he is watching all these graves, tombs, and epitaphs all around him. And all these tombs and gravestones are making him ponder about the transience of life, the mortality of man. Okay. Okay. Next. Ananya. Ananya, are you there? Okay. So let's move on to the next question. According to Antonio Gramsci, dash is the material. Just give me a second. Material and ideological instruments through which the dominant classes maintain their power. So what is it? Is it consciousness or hegemony or power or alienation? So we know that Antonio Gramsci was a very prominent critic and theorist who wrote the prison notebooks. There he has talked about many important concepts. So what is it? Yes, it is hegemony. It is the hegemony. And hegemony is the ideology also, and the instrument through which the dominant classes maintain their power. He has also talked about subaltern, hegemony, and he was a very important theorist and critique, and his most important work is Prison Notebooks. Okay. Next question. Ananya, you're not audible. Okay, I will read. So which of the following characteristics, or what is a post-structuralist researcher supposed to do? So what a post-structuralist researcher will do? Will he read the text against itself, or locate the central theme of the text, or search the historical background of the text, or search the historical background of the author? So if a researcher has opted for a post-structuralist tendency or stance in his research work, what will he do among all these options? Yes, he will read the text against itself. He will read the text against itself. That's a post-structuralist stance. Okay? Okay. So before we wrap up, we would like to remind you all that at Vallat from 8th April onwards, we have started this course of RPSC Assistant Professor Quiz Series, where we are giving you everyday topic-wise quizzes, model tests, and live revisions twice a week. The fee is 2,500, and the phone number is also there on the screen. So if you want to enroll, please hurry and get enrolled now and join us for your wonderful preparation for the exam. Okay, so that's all for tonight. So Ananya, shall we wrap up?
Yes, we shall.
Okay. So guys, I really hope you liked the session. If you did, please like the video and share and subscribe, and see you all again on Monday. Have a lovely weekend. Stay healthy, stay happy, prepare well, stay calm, and see you all again on Monday at 9 p.m. Okay, bye. Good night.